Welcome, Roast Nation. This is Prime Roast. Chris Cordani here with Angie, Wong, as always, having fun today.
Yeah, Chris, I stupidly gave up coffee for like all of 3 days. And
Oh,
I'm
boy.
like, oh no, I got to be on air today. So I had to get myself a big cup.
That's
But
all
yeah,
right.
you're going to see what happens when the body goes through withdrawal of coffee. And then all of a sudden, like, I shoot up on this show live. So look, we have a very special guest I want to bring in right away because we have a lot to talk about, like we do on every show. We have Javier Hernandez, who has written an amazing book called PREXIT, and I've been calling it PR Exit. You know why? Because I just call Puerto Rico PR, right? I mean,
Yeah.
when I talk to my friends, I'm just like, hey, are you going to PR? And you know how many Americans have moved into PR in the last decade or so? You have all these tech guys all down there, right?
Yeah.
But that's not what this book is about. It's about Javier trying to force Puerto Rico, or not force, I think that's the wrong word, but
Force. That's a good.
yes. Well, I mean,
Fools that
look,
will destroy them all.
there are good talking points about why Puerto Rico should exit US sovereignty. But I can't really think of one because I know we give you so much money. We give like 25 billion a year, hurricane relief, all sorts of tax benefits. Like, why would you want to not be our friends anymore?
No, well, it's not about being not friends. We want to be friends, but on an equal footing. Because right now we've been a colony for 126 years. We don't control our country, our economy, nothing. We're not allowed to access global markets. We can't have our own diplomacy. We literally have no power whatsoever. Yes, beautiful beaches, and it's great, and it's fun, beautiful, but we have no authority in our own country. So with Brexit, what we want is to forge a relationship with the U.S. Where we're free and we can have great relations with the U.S. on a bilateral basis, on an equal footing.
So you don't want to
Well,
be the 52nd state, huh? After
Nope,
Canada?
nope, no 51st, 52nd, 53rd. No, and the reason is because we're not Americans. We're U.S. citizens because they imposed it in 1917 without our consent. But that doesn't make us now morph into Americans. If France tomorrow says I'm a French citizen, does that mean I'm French now? No, of course not. So we're Puerto Ricans. We'll always be Puerto Ricans, and as you know, affirming that nationhood, we want to go forward being ourselves, not trying
yeah.
to cosplay being someone else. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you though. I mean, can Puerto Rico self sustain at this time?
Well, right now we have a dependent colonial economy where we have, again, like I said, no, we depend on the U.S. because it's structured that way. It's not because it's nature. It's made that way. And when we finally have our freedom one day, we can actually have our own tariffs, our own customs, and according to economic surveys and reports, if we just had control of our customs, we can survive. We can create $10 billion a year just
Wow.
off our own to run our own country, to run our own government without federal funds. But we can only do that with sovereignty. Not right now, where we're not allowed to do any of that.
Yeah, so Miami and Puerto Rico, we have a very special relations, I'd like to say. A lot of the Miami representatives were in Puerto Rico when they just granted their new mayor recently, right?
Yeah.
And we hear a lot of noise about the representation, or rather the taxation with that representation in Congress all the time, because you guys don't get a vote in the US Congress. You just get to stand there and listen to us complain about everything.
Oh, the,
Yeah.
the the independence vote, by the way, Javier, fails every time. They never won out, and I understand why. And I know Angie discussed that a little while ago. How can you convince people who've said, "Hey, I love the free ride. I like the idea of not paying taxes. It's beautiful down here. We're a territory. I understand." And maybe even convincing other people who say, "Well, I also prefer to be part of the U.S. as a state and get some real representation in Congress, and I mean voting power."
Yeah.
But doing the independent nation thing is also fairly risky. How are you trying to convince people that this is the right way to go?
Wow, that's like three questions in one. I want to
Exactly.
answer
I
everything.
roll
No,
them
but
all up.
they're great questions. They're great questions. So first, the sovereignty, the independence vote. We weren't allowed to vote for 60 years under U.S. rule, because there was a lot of repression and people getting killed and disappearing. So that's a part of history that people don't talk about, but it impacted the future. So if imagine if we criminalize being pro-independence, that occurred. Our flag was illegal. If you were caught with a Puerto Rican flag in Puerto Rico, you go 10 years in prison. So imagine decades of that. People, you want to live, you want to grow, you have your family. So you kind of, you be quiet and you cooperate with the colonial government. But thank God independence is rising. In the last 2024 plebiscite, pro-sovereignty options got 43%. I mean, we used to get 2%. Now we're up to 43. The trend is going up, especially with young people, professionals who want to see Puerto Rico do better. And better doesn't mean more money from you guys. We want to have the authority to create our own wealth, our own revenues, without having to depend on, hey, let's get our non-voting member of Congress, resident commissioner. Can you beg them for more money? Can you please, we want to create our own wealth, but we can only do that with sovereignty. That's the only way we can get ahead with all this. Yeah.
I don't know. I thought you guys would have an easy time bribing other Congress members with a nice case of Bacardi. But again, that would work on me. But again, another story, another day.
I mean, it's so undemocratic, isn't it? Right? I mean, wow, you want to be independent and you want to work and you want to earn your own money. That's, maybe this is the right president to be in office right now to get that to happen. I hope you can get this book to Susie Wiles and to his advisors, because who knows, right? There could be a continued special relationship, but in a different way. Right now the world's on fire, especially with all the tariffs and new tax structures and Trump wanting to end income tax for those who make under $150,000 a year. I mean, what are your thoughts on all of this? I know we've got videos to get to, but a lot's changing. Maybe you could throw yourself in the mix. But do you really want to annex from us? I mean, it looks like
we don't want to annex with you. We want to be your strategic partners, your allies. We want to be your friends in the Caribbean, not be part of your country, because we're not American. We think in Spanish. We're Latin American nation. We have our own history, our own identity, and we're just not you. And we don't need to be. That's the thing. I love my nation. I love your nation. We're different people, but we could still hold each other's hand and do great things together. That doesn't mean we hate each other or nothing like that. My wife is American. Does that mean that I don't, have a great relationship with the Americans in USA? Of course not. Well, and so we actually have a draft executive order that we've trying to circulate around Congress and to the White House, that if Trump signs it, which he could, it would literally start the transition for independence. And I mean, this would be great for the U.S., great for, Trump himself, obviously, but great for the U.S. U.S. would save $600 billion in the long run with this move.
Oh,
that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
You are on the way. Javier, you guys, Puerto Rico's are well on the way to becoming its own nation, by the way, because you do have your own team as your own sort of country in the World Baseball Classic competitions. And believe me, a lot of good ball players. So,
Speaking of baseball, isn't it today the start of the baseball season?
That's right.
I know nothing about it, but you guys do.
Major League Baseball starts today. I'm a Met fan. Now, you might think I am very happy about the way this is going to start working out for the Mets with Juan Soto on the team, and of course, greats like Francisco Lindor. This the top five in the lineup is going to be Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, and Mark Vientos. Some combination of all those guys. That sounds great, doesn't it? But I'm a Mets fan, longtime Mets fan, and I always wait for the other shoe to drop. Something bad is going to happen. I'm even surprised they made it as far as they did last year. You mentioned executive orders just a little while ago, Javier. Well, here's one for you. Well, actually, two. Donald Trump pushed two big ones recently. One to declassify documents pertaining to Operation Crossfire Hurricane, better known as Russiagate. And that has, I'm sure it's bothered a lot of people, but most of us are very happy to see that. What put the left in a tizzy, though, is his executive order to instruct states to push forth ideas to, let's say, restore confidence in elections or restore election integrity. And they're mad about this. They're angry that people have to prove they're citizens to vote. They're angry that states have to make sure they're looking at their that their voter rolls and making sure there are no double voters and making sure there are no dead voters. Get them off the rolls. A lot of states didn't want to comply with that in the first place, but MSNBC and the mainstream media were very quick to run defense and try to switch the narrative to Trump's so mean he's trying to disenfranchise voters. MSNBC, this is the microcosm of the whole thing. Check this out.
Donald Trump's election denialism reached new heights yesterday when he signed a sweeping executive order aimed at overhauling American elections.
First off, you heard that? Donald Trump's election denialism. This is a station that puts on people who are trying to tell the world that, first off, they pushed the Russian collusion hoax. This is an election denying station. This is all over the place there. Secondly, they even bring guests on who have denied the election already in 2024.
Well, Chris, I'm wondering, since they're caught in their own lies, and now that we're opening up an investigation into their lies, what liabilities may they have as a station? Or, I mean, this is a pretty big one, right? You can't push out lies like this. That's not journalism. That's beyond defamation. Where are we going with all this?
Basically, when I hear MSNBC, I really hear MSNB peep. That's all I hear from them. When their mouths move, but all I can hear from them is peep.
The order targets many of Trump's grievances from the 2020 election, which he continues to falsely claim had widespread voter fraud.
You notice that every time Trump says something, it's falsely claimed. There was voter fraud. There were problems. There is a question as to whether it would have affected the election because there was a lot of legal ground game cheating going on, thanks to the Congress's COVID rules. But again, this whole thing about false claims, no. You're just saying they're false and trying to hope people will establish that or will believe that.
Yeah, Javier, your thoughts? How's voting in Puerto Rico?
Well, yeah, I wish we had something like this in Puerto Rico because there is voter fraud constantly. The pro-statehood party controls the electoral commission. So imagine a political party controlling that. So there really isn't no, like being impartial, a party, a government agency for that. We have dead people voting all the time. We have bedridden people. We have inmates who are voting, who sometimes, and there's even an FBI investigation on this, there's prison gangs that force prisoners to vote for statehood, and if they don't, they get beat. They get. Oh yeah, that's a whole investigation in Puerto Rico, and they have to vote for the statehood party, and these are the people that want statehood. So they have an entire, scheme in Puerto Rico going on. But when we try to have the federal government intervene to fix this, we get nowhere. So that's why the statehood party gets, a lot of votes because, a lot of dead people end up resurrect themselves every 4 years, vote, and then go back to the grave. But so we have a lot of experience with electoral fraud in Puerto Rico.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see what Trump is doing with this. I think it's great. You want citizens, you want the actual people who should be voting to vote, not people who shouldn't be voting. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Let's
Chris,
see some more.
Including requiring documentary proof of citizenship to register to vote and demanding that all ballots are received by Election Day. The order, which could disenfranchise millions of voters.
There's your keyword, disenfranchise. Hold on a second. All the garbage that's been going on is already disenfranchised voters. What Trump is doing is re-enfranchising voters. So stop trying to push this narrative.
Disenfranchise what? Illegal voters from voting? Is that what that's what I heard. Did you guys not hear that? Look, I said this before. I can't fly to Rome, Italy, and vote in their elections or get a driver's license, but you can here in the US. I could fly to New York City and get a non-citizen's driver's license, and then all of a sudden I can go down to Florida, turn in to the DMV, that license, and get a real one. Guys, wake up. This has been happening across the country. Democrats have lost their base. They need to import new ones. This is the riff. And here you have a talking mouthpiece that's pushing that. Do you think Democrats are going to still continue this? Do you think that no one knows that this is happening? Or they really believe that they still have a cloak over our eyes, right? Javier, what's happening in New Jersey? Because you've been witnessing some of the
Yeah.
elections there.
Yeah, this happens everywhere, but basically, this happens in New Jersey and many other states. But firmly believe, they're only citizens should be allowed to vote. That's it, you know. And if you're or permanent residents, people who are legally, but if you're not legally, that's a whole other issue. But to participate in something that you're not technically allowed to, and still do it and think it's okay, I don't think that's right.
It gets a little better. She alludes to a quote from a real sleazebag out of Arizona.
Voters claims the actions are designed to prevent non-citizens from voting. But as NBC News points out, quote, there is no evidence they do in significant numbers in the United States.
It's significant
Voting
numbers.
as a non-citizen is a serious crime that creates a paper trail that must be routinely reviewed by election officials. Trump's actions are sure to face swift legal challenges, given that the Constitution gives states the authority over elections. And the backlash from state election officials, it was immediate, with Arizona's Secretary of State, Adrian Fontes, telling Democracy Docket, quote, I genuinely believe that the Trump administration wants to cancel the 2026 elections so that he and his party can stay in power.
See, this guy, this fool in Arizona has tried to hide election results from the public already. He's kind of a sleazebag over there, and now he's trying to fill people with the silly idea that Donald Trump wants to cancel the 2026 elections. If anything, Donald Trump wants the 2026 elections. This is going to be one of the first times in a long time a sitting president is going to gain seats, and a lot of them in Congress, in the House. I had the Senate too, by the way.
I hope so. I hope so. Look, historically, that doesn't happen after having the trifecta. We have the White House, we have the House of Congress, and we have the Senate. Usually, history tells us that we're going to lose a couple of seats. I don't know about this one. This one, Donald Trump is a very special political animal. He might flip this one on its head. I've long been saying to consultants, the best place to pick up seats is actually here in Florida. We don't have any of the messes. Like, we could spend, 80 plus times the amount maybe in New Jersey and New York and flipping those seats. But the reality is you pick off a couple of seats in Florida and those are easier, right? So that's going to give him the larger buffer that he needs in Congress to pass all of his Trump agendas going forward. I'm looking at races in New Hampshire and elsewhere, and you got to spend a lot of money there. Why? Pick up a few seats, whatever the remaining blue seats are in the states that you can, right? Trump being anointed king and not having a 2026 election. Wow, who's the election denier now? This is nuts.
Oh, that's what we get out of Arizona sometimes anyway. Let's have some more fun. We have, I guess, some more time. But Javier, we always like to find our usual suspects when it comes to roasting, and The View just provides us with so much information. But this is a little more serious. What's a Democrat to do when they lose their congressional seat? They could write a book that nobody's going to read and go on The View, so they'll talk about it. And they can have fun with Joy Behar and Sonny Hostin or whatever. But recently, they tried to sound serious and intellectual. They do this sometimes and try to sound thoughtful. It never works. But they were mouthing off recently in support of this what was it, Muhammad Khalil or whatever
the Columbia student that was arrested.
Mahmoud Khalil. It's Mahmoud
Yes.
Khalil. Yes. So they know nothing about this subject, what it's all about. But of course, that's the way the woke have to go. They have to side with the guy who Trump's against.
Back when we're talking about this administration's mass deportation plan, and is this plan?
Look how angry she is.
And do you think what people voted for?
I don't think so. And I love how you started this, Whoopi, because you started it with the law, which is what Tom Holman was saying. Americans, once you are here, especially if you have a green card, you are a permanent legal resident of the United States, which means that you have the constitutional protections that every American citizen has. And that includes free speech.
Actually, I'm going to ask about this. I don't believe that people who are not American citizens have the same constitutional protections as an American citizen. A lot of these rights that are granted in the Constitution are privileges of being an American citizen.
You're
Thoughts on that?
absolutely right, Chris. Look, my husband, who held a green card for over 9 years, he would even jaywalk, you know? Like he was so scared that he was going to get deported by doing something really dumb because he really wanted to become an American citizen. So he tiptoed around for 9 years, freaking out, like everything, making sure that every single T was crossed, every I was dotted until he finally got naturalized last November. Funny enough, he got naturalized 5 days after the election. He was so pissed that he couldn't vote. and I had to ask
Just in
him, who
time.
would you have voted for? But he wouldn't answer.
Jeez.
Maybe RFK. There you go.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, Javier, does someone holding a green card or here on a student visa or any of those things, are they full-blown Americans?
I mean, again, it's a legal issue. I mean, it's showing that they're trying to be. They're going down that road to become a full American and a U.S. citizen, and with all the duties and responsibilities that entails, you know. And I mean, I'm not a lawyer, but you know, your personal opinions on issues, you know, if you're Democrat, Republican with a green card, fine, whatever. But if you start maybe going against like the government itself, or saying some things that are maybe against like the country, what we would consider that could raise suspicions on some people. Now, I don't think that's enough to arrest someone. You know, I'm just saying, you know, enough for that. If someone says something, just saying something, but acting on something, I think that would be a different situation.
Yeah, and it's strange because days after Khalid's arrest, we didn't really know what he was arrested for, right?
Yeah.
The media just wrapped it up into, oh, he was exercising his free speech, he was
Mm.
protesting, but we don't really know what he was arrested for. Maybe he broke a window, maybe he assaulted someone. We have no idea.
He's a chief organizer of protest where these kids locked themselves in a building, locked people out of a public building, or I should say the school-owned building, but it was open to the school public, if you will. So I'll go with that. It's a student, basically a building students have the right to go in and out of. They locked everybody out of. Secondly, Jewish students were threatened with bodily harm and even death during these protests by masked people. This man, Mahmoud Khalil, or Mahmoud Khalil, excuse me, Mahmoud Khalil, organized or helped organize protests like this, and these involve direct threats to American citizens.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of all this. This is my old school, you guys, and I am heartbroken over this. Actually, my heart bleeds that this happened. And you have to know, and Javier's right across the river in New Jersey, and Chris, you're just upstate. You have to know, New Yorkers, we wake up and we protest. Like that's our activity for the day, right? It's like some people take a picnic, you know, some people go to the gym. No, we love protesting, right? It's like that's like their daily exercise. So, yeah, I mean, I find the story a little bit. I don't know which way to go on this story. As MAGA as I am, I actually think, well, unless he's committed an actual crime, I don't know if we should be going around committing thought crimes or arresting people for thought crimes.
Well, again,
So there is a line there.
Organizing such protests. He's the buck stops with him. If he's a chief organizer, one of the main organizers, and fueling the idea where you take over a building or you threaten the lives of other students. That's something there. And I believe New York. And again, you could play the hate crime card on this one, possibly, right?
Maybe. I mean, look, if he was inciting violence with his
That's what they were
speech,
doing. That's what they were
then
doing.
that I can see.
Yeah.
But you know, all this has led to a lot of student visas now being relooked at. And even as of yesterday, we were hearing that some student visas from certain countries may not be welcomed here. Javier, that's a brand new world we're in. We used to take in everybody, but I guess people have abused it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what you said, where you know you don't want to go down the way of thought crime situation, you know, just because you don't agree with the government or the party or something like that. But if you commit a crime like break a law, that's a different situation. But if you're, you're doing the process to get a green card, you have a green card, you're doing on the process to become a U.S. citizen, there are certain, I feel, things that you should maybe not be doing because it could impact, or the perception of it could look like you're being anti-American.
Oh,
I'm
keep
just
in
gonna
mind,
say
keep in
the
mind,
perception of it. You could think it, you could, maybe write something, but to go out and lock stuff up or break laws and then say, oh, but I'm in the U.S. I think the government, the U.S. and Americans should determine what that is.
you also have to think about this. What was his intention really? It was his intention to come in here, take an opportunity, and cause problems, or was it just to be a
Yeah.
student? No,
Well,
he was there. He was there to organize, take impressionable minds, and cause some serious problems. We don't need
and
people
here's
like
the
that.
weird part, Chris and Javier. He couldn't do this from the country where he came from, right? He'd probably lose a couple of body parts if he did that.
Well, against the
That's the
government.
thing.
What he's doing is probably something that a lot of those governments would condone. But again, that's another story for another day.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, let's hear more from these geniuses on The View.
And it certainly includes due process from being disappeared. And so I want to just point out that on March 8th, legal permanent resident who has a green card, his name's Mahmoud Khalil, was taken from Columbia University housing. His pregnant wife is due next month.
An innocent picture, sure. Now show a picture of him during the protest.
Plainclothes men in New York grabbed him, put him into an unmarked car, then moved him to Jersey, which is something that is done in authoritarian governments.
Is it that bad in Jersey? Did they take you to Jersey as a move by an authoritarian government? Now I know you have Governor Murphy there, so
Yeah.
no.
No, it's not an authoritarian government in New Jersey. No, not at all.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I'm not trying to be sympathetic to this, but he was, they do something called diesel therapy to a lot of these arrests where they move them around and around. I think he ended up in Louisiana or somewhere at some point as well. They do it intentionally because, well, one, they don't want the protests, and two, it makes it difficult for the lawyers, right? Because the lawyers have to keep tracking him down, and it takes a couple of days to figure out where he ends up. But we've been covering stories about diesel therapy as well. It's just a very weird part of our judicial system, unfortunately, and it happens a lot more than you think. Ask anyone who's been arrested by federal agents.
True. I'm sure they'll all feel the wrath of Jasmine Crockett, though. Well, it does. Whoever is on the side of Donald Trump will feel that wrath because she is now the new face. Apparently, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they finally realized how dumb she was, and they're trying to find a new face to the Democrat Party. I get it. There's a leadership deficit there. The old guard is looking more foolish bit by bit. Chuck Schumer is defending the indefensible, and you have the younger crowd over there really don't know what they're scrambling and maneuvering for position. It's either the squad or somebody who's like a little outside the squad, but very squaddish, like Jasmine Crockett. But she's put on an act that has perplexed many. If you're going to try to be a leader, act like a leader. She decided to go the route of pretending she's a tough ghetto gangsta-ette, if you will, and talk tough every time she's in front of the camera. Very recently, she was trying to lecture Congress about, about NPR. We could have gone into this whole thing, yes, but that's going to take a long, long time. She's screeching about NPR and Fox News or whatever on this because she seems to believe that NPR isn't biased. I don't think she's been paying attention, or she probably never turned it on. I don't think that's cool in the ghetto either, but we'll see.
About emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm gonna skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Miss Mayor, and I just want to clarify: you did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to
Chair.
be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the gentlewoman's time.
And it gets better with her. She tries to act like Jazzy from the block, but she really is Posh lack of spice. So here,
Yeah, no, I wear glasses when I try to look smart. So I don't know. Javier, is she the new leader of the Democratic Party? Is Jasmine Crockett the new face?
I don't think so. Sure, she was an impassioned speech there. I don't. My personal opinion, I don't think you should be, dropping, like curse words and congressional debates and speeches. That's just me, But yeah, you could be impassioned, but I think right now the Democrats still don't know who's in charge there. So they're still determining who's in charge, trying to find who's the leader. So I think that'll take a few more months, maybe.
well,
Months?
so the question
Probably.
and the question goes: is she a cool Spitfire, or is she really hurting herself and her own party and any advancement she plans to have in the near future? Here she is again trying to act like Jazzy from the block when after Pam Bondi says, "Hey, watch out, lady! You got to tread carefully here."
Just in case the slow people listening decide to clip this up later, I just want to say that I have never promoted violence whatsoever. Yet I've also never made excuse for those violent actors, such as the ones on January 6th. So Pam Bondi, if you have an issue with terrorism, maybe you should talk to your boss about locking back up those guys that he let out that participated in January 6th.
When Pam Bondi, though, says, tread carefully, what does that even mean?
Yeah. All it means is that she's attempting to get me to say, oh, I'm going to be scared and I'm just not going to say anything, because they are willing to literally break the law. That's what we've seen them do. They are ignoring court orders.
Who's they?
They are ignoring what our own laws are. When we look at things such as impoundment, things like that, this entire administration is rogue. And this isn't about partisanship. I keep trying to tell people that we are living in the time of good versus evil, right versus wrong.
And there you go, except for one thing. She's supporting the evil. She's supporting the bad guys. And yes, she's kind of full of it. But she's using all the pablum. She's trying to sound a little more calm here. And then very recently, she put together a long drunken rant about the Trump administration. Did you see this one? This is hilarious.
And then y'all want to come at us and act like people of color are the problem or that women are the problem? Like, baby, you probably need a good black woman in the room who can check you and tell you that, first of all, you shouldn't be doing this shit on Signal or anything else.
There you go. So she tries to be Jazzy from the block. She wants to be a leader in the party, but she also likes the attention she's getting as the tough girl. The thing is, she's from a private school. She's privileged. She's from a extremely privileged background, and she's worth millions. So this is what happened. This is her in front of the camera, but behind the camera, she's more like this. Well, mommy, I think that before I go onto the house floor, we have to have some more lady fingers and maybe some crumpets and caviar before I go on there, so I can start sounding tough. And remember to prep up my dress a little bit, because I ain't be liking that anymore. And then what do we do after cotillion tonight? Shall we go out for a couple of Manhattans?
Okay, I don't think she's Queen Elizabeth, but she does put on a good act. And you know what? She's been getting a lot of airwaves. Javier, maybe she's the smart one in the room, because clearly she's sucked up all the media air and she's on TV 24/7. Just saying.
I agree that could be a strategy. Get your if you do that, you will generate attention, media attention. She's getting attention from the Democrats, news, and Republicans. They're all talking about her and not talking about other Democratic potential leaders.
That's right.
So it is working. Yeah.
But
It is working.
But like who? Tim Walz, is he a leader of the party? Kamala Harris is clearly not a leader for that party. She may be the front runner now. And what, Pete Buttigieg? The only reason that Pete Buttigieg is even where he is, it's not because he's gay. It's because he comes from a nice long line of communists anyway. Remember, his father, I believe, translated the Gransky toilet paper chronicles into English, didn't he?
Did he?
I believe so.
I don't know about that. Look, they're all trying to make a name for themselves because the 2028 elections is really just right around the corner. I thought we were going to get a little bit of a breather after this last past presidential election. No, they're all vying for something, and anyone who makes enough noise now can get something. Maybe a cabinet seat, maybe a VP pick. Who knows? I think she knows what she's doing, Chris. I don't think she's all that dumb. I don't think she's jazz hands, from the block. I think she really is. I think she's actually kind of smart. I think her PR person's doing the right job, making her to be the crazy fool. That's what AOC was when she first popped on the scene. She's just doing the same pathway as AOC. AOC's graduated now. She wants to be the senator. She may even want to be on the 2028 ticket with Bernie Sanders. I actually think that's a great look for the Democratic Party. I can't wait to beat them again. And maybe free Puerto Rico at the same time. Maybe we could get all that stuff done for our 2028 wish list. What do you think?
Yeah, that's
It'd be
a good one,
fantastic.
Javier.
That would be fantastic especially for me, to free Puerto Rico. I wanted to mention something super quick about the election and Puerto Rico's impact. If Puerto Rico became a state, it would have 6 to 7 potential representatives in Congress who would probably be Democrats.
Yeah,
right.
That's a tough
senators. One. So if I were a Republican, if I were a MAGA Republican, that, not even the economic part, just that would be enough to have me support independence for Puerto Rico, because if we became a state, that's done. I mean, and then you're going to have a Caribbean Quebec on your hands. The language issue is going to happen, disunity. I mean, those are other things that come along with it. But I mean, Elon Musk even said it on Joe Rogan the other day. Basically, he came into politics and into supporting Trump because Puerto Rico and DC, the potential threat of them becoming states, and that would literally eradicate the GOP control of Congress for decades to come. So I'm asking you, you want to not have that happen? Here's the draft executive order to make it happen.
That's why we don't want Canada as the 51st state either. So no Canada, and give Puerto Rico its independence. That's good. It'll keep the electoral system at least
435.
Right.
435.
Yeah, it's growing on me, Javier. I mean, prior to this, I was a little bit skeptical, right? Because we like you guys. You keep it fun.
And we like you guys too. We love you guys, but we want to have our house and you have your house, and we can, visit each other all the time and have visa waiver travel.
Yeah.
You come here, you come there, have a great relationship, but we just don't want to be ruled.
That's fair. That's absolutely fair. That's absolutely fair. A couple more things before we go. The Democrats, we talked about their leadership deficit. It's not just nationwide. Apparently, it's statewide too. These people have no idea how to handle serious matters in office, or at least a lot of them don't. Maybe this is one example, but it's still, again, a microcosm of the mentality of a lot of Democrats. This is why your Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes are at the forefront, and your Jasmine Crockett's are trying to act tough when she's really a posh lack of spice. This one over here is a California Democrat who is apparently so bored of discussing real issues, and I think this was a gun issue that they were talking about during the state legislature. She's a state representative, and look what she's doing. She's playing with her coloring book app while serious matters are being discussed.
That's embarrassing. That's
Who's to say she hasn't done this before? What were they out of those adult coloring books that you see lying around the restaurants, or are these coffee shops somewhere along the line?
Oh, this is like a high-tech, placemat, if that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, 50, 60 years old coloring? I mean, maybe that's her safe place.
Yeah, what a child.
I mean, it is.
Color at home if you still think you have to do that.
Wow, guys, we're paying her. She makes laws for this country.
Yeah, that's
Colorado.
Oh, Colorado. Man, she's very violent with that toolbox.
No, she's going at it.
Wow, Chris, what's happening? Like, I am so scared that, and I kick myself all the time. Like, wow, if that person can be in office, like maybe I should step it up a little bit. Like maybe I should,
She's a state rep out of Colorado named Amy Paschal, and she's a Democrat.
Love it. I love it. I
low
love it. I'm gonna go
mentality there.
watch that whole clip after this show because it's like it's very entertaining, but also mildly very peaceful.
It's like very zen. Very zen.
Javier, Angie and I made fun of with our friend Mike Nova. We made fun of the Snow White disaster over the weekend. And it was it was a 1.5 year long disaster. But do you know there's one movie which actually did worse under the radar than Snow White?
No, which one? I have no idea.
And it couldn't be a more deserving actor than Robert De Niro. His movie Alto Nights was a big disaster. It grossed almost nothing. What was 3.2 million in the domestic box office. That's much worse than comparison to Snow White.
Snow White, I think, made like 44 million or something like that. Or I mean, I think don't quote me on that, but
again, that had a $250 million budget too. Again, nobody's more deserving of this flop than Robert De Niro.
He can't even go and buy a Tribeca apartment with that money. Like, it's just not enough. Man, oh man. Look. I gotta give, I don't know how old he is now, in his 70s. I gotta give that man something for trying, because he knew that his career was in the toilet after speaking up against Trump, right? So now he's fighting back with making more films, in his retirement years. Okay, look, I'm all for it. I think any voice is. I'm happy to hear it. I'm going to defend your free speech if you want me to, even if I don't agree with you. And if he wants to keep making these flops, that's fine, because Hollywood seems to have a lot of money to burn right now. Right? Disney's like, I don't know. Sorry, we just blew out one of our biggest franchises ever. And it's like, they don't seem to care all that much. Can Disney or Robert De Niro or any of these woke film conglomerates, can they save themselves? Is there still a way?
I think they can. I mean, he did this movie. It didn't do very well. But he did work on, 0 Hour, and he was good. He was great in 0 Hour. I only saw 2 episodes of it. I haven't finished it, but it's great there. So, I mean, it just depends on how much they're going to be active and more political in. But, I mean, they have talent, but sometimes you associate their talent with their political stance. And I can see that being a problem for some people. Yeah. Getting jobs. Yeah.
And I want to give a shout out, by the way, to a really cool X handle, a really cool X page, the Tesla dash cam page. They have all sorts of videos of these idiots who are vandalizing Teslas, and now they can be seen all over the place. These morons don't realize that, and also destroying Tesla charging stations too. These morons don't realize that once they come near one of these things, one of 7 or so cameras goes off, and they can be seen easily.
Oh, and the best part is, I seen that one. It's like, who's hurting whom there? Really? Oh man. Yeah, we forget who owns these Teslas. It's usually another liberal. So let them eat their own. Let them eat their own. They're just picking off the liberals who have money. And now what do you think the liberals who have money will do? Well, they're going to go to the other party. So it's like, yep. Keep going, man. You guys are super smart. Ace.
That looked like it hurt. That last one.
They think there's no consequence to what they're doing, by the way.
Yeah, that one I didn't understand. Why she was like trying to put her hand or a sausage through a glass. It was so weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Liberals, and especially like, why are you filming yourself? Well, not all the cases, but some of these cases, why are you filming yourself committing a crime? Like, that's just like,
well, they think they want to be heroes. That's the thing.
Oh, is that how you become a hero these days?
Yeah, I guess.
An anti-hero? Oh boy.
Check out Tesla dash cam. That's what it is. Tesla dash cam. It's a Tesla dash cam.
This
It's on,
one, like that lady.
right.
Wait, like why is that good? Why is that entertaining? But I am talking about it, so I guess it is entertaining. Like, really?
Yeah. Maybe she's saying something about the patriarchy.
Huh?
Cutting the hot dog off.
That's not even modern
geez.
art. Like, and I went to art school. Like, I would see videos like this all day long and get graded on it. I mean, that's how silly I was back in those days. Yeah, look, I don't know what passes for entertainment clearly anymore. I hope our show does. And I want to
yeah.
thank Javier very, very much for gracing us today with your presence
Oh,
and for writing that book.
Thank
Listen,
you.
I don't have a copy yet, but I'm going to ask, our mutual
I can-
friend for a copy right away because
I'll
I
send you
am
one.
curious. I
I'll send
actually
you.
I like the idea. I just want to, I always want to think through how that works. And also, we're at a point where it seems like Trump is trying to colonize more and more countries. So it's going to be really interesting to see if there is a pushback with PR, or my favorite word today, Puerto Rico. But yeah, no, I'd love to talk to you some more about this and maybe in a future show.
Yeah, please just let me know. We'll set it up, and awesome. And yeah, I thank you for the opportunity. This has been great to be here with you guys.
Yeah. And where can everyone reach you?
I'm pretty active on X. So you just basically at PREXIT book. That's the best place to get me, DMs and everything, and I'll reply.
All right. Well, I just followed him as well, and I can't wait to see all the good things that you post. And Chris,
Thank you.
love it as always. I love the fireplace in the background. It makes me so warm and cozy every time we log on to this show.
I'm a warm guy. That's what it is. That's just the way things are.
And I want to thank all the Prime Roasters for watching episode 25. Keep roasting with us every single week on this show. We really appreciate your comments. And do hit that subscribe button. We're growing every single day thanks to you guys. And we will see you next week.